Jalen Hurts deserves every cent of the 5-year, $255 million contract he just signed, which averages out to about $51 million a year, making him the highest paid player per year ever in NFL history. But he doesn't deserve it just for how he plays on the field, but rather who he is. Now, my father used to tell me there are plenty of great athletes walking around out there, but few make it to the highest level because they don't have the complete package. And Hurts has that in bundles. His story's incredible. They're going to make a movie about it probably someday. He got benched by Bama for Tua Tagovailoa, then transferred to Oklahoma, had a great year there, and was somewhat overlooked in the draft, going 53rd. Now, he wasn't supposed to be this rising star. He was really just supposed to be Diet Dak Prescott, or maybe you have to change positions. But did Jalen Hurts complain? No. Did he blame some invisible force for hindering his stardom? No. I'll tell you what he did. He took his ass to work every single day and he earned it. He is truly what it means to be a leader. You don't have to worry about Jalen Hurts hitting women off the field or saying stupid things to put himself in front of the team to the media. But you can count on him to outwork everyone. And you can also count on him to improve year over year. Now, Jalen isn't the best passer in the league. He's not even the fastest player. But his drive to get better and his ability to uplift those around him are just as valuable. He never wants the credit, but he's the first one to take the blame. And that's a guy I want on my team and in my locker room, especially at the quarterback position. Now, some will look at the price tag and say it's way too much. But when you factor in everything he brings to the table, that porridge is just right. Jalen Hurts is a living example of how it's amazing what you can take when everything isn't given to you. I'm going to bring in my co-host, David Cone, former Michigan quarterback, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crain. Guys, go back and forth. The amount of money that is at the quarterback position now, the market's going up and up and up. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. No. But as much as we hear about, Kyler Murray didn't deserve that. Deshaun Watson didn't deserve that. If anybody deserves that money, it's Jalen Hurts to me. Now, it's a risk and a gamble anytime you pay that amount of money to anybody or betting on the future at the quarterback position in the NFL, including when you're in a window to be able to win a Super Bowl. That's when it matters most. But if I'm going to gamble on a guy, I want to gamble on a guy I can trust. The only question I have is the health of Jalen Hurts over the long term with the way that he uses them. But they use them. I think Nick Sirianni and them obviously understand that. You got the offensive line returning. But just your thoughts on Jalen being the highest paid player per year in NFL history.
We're going to get down to the specifics of the deal here and what it means for the Eagles moving forward. But my first thoughts are, I agree with you. When a great athlete signs a big contract, it always feels better from a fan perspective when you know they're a class act, when they're a person of integrity. Now, I've never met Jalen Hurts personally. I've never shaken his hand. I've never shared a meal with him. But he lives through his actions, and I trust the people in Tuscaloosa who have known him well. Here's a guy who was the first true freshman ever to start at quarterback for Nick Saban at the University of Alabama. He leads the Crimson Tide. He gets benched at halftime of the national championship, deservedly so. That's a part of this not a lot of people talk about. Alabama was not going to beat Georgia in that game if Jalen Hurts played the second half. Tua Tagovailoa came in that game, won Alabama the championship. Who was the guy on the sideline celebrating the most? You know how much that hurt. But Jalen Hurts became a national championship. He celebrated his teammate. He didn't whine. He didn't complain. He didn't threaten to transfer. He came back the next season trying to be the starting quarterback again. Tua won the job. Jalen Hurts backs him up every single week. And what happened in the SEC championship the following year? Jalen Hurts came in and won another game against Georgia, and for the same scenario. I don't think Alabama beats Georgia in that SEC title game unless Jalen Hurts comes into the ballgame. He did so. He did so with integrity. He transfers to Oklahoma, nearly wins the Heisman Trophy, and then this past season for the Philadelphia Eagles, he throws for over 3,500 yards, I believe it was, rushed for over 500, led the Eagles to a Super Bowl. Everything this guy does is the epitome of a high-character guy. So, we can talk about the deal, but I think that this should be celebrated, and every young athlete should be looking at him as an inspiration around the world and beyond. Now, one thing here, and this is on the media, not Jalen Hurts, but he is not the highest paid NFL player of all time, right? For that, you have to have made the most money from the NFL.
For sure.
As it sits right now, I think that's Tom Brady at $300 million. If you want to look at the biggest deal, Patrick Mahomes, 10 years, $450 million. Guaranteed money, Deshaun Watson with the $230, but like you said, Jake, per year. If he lives it out in the entirety of the deal, it's $51 million per year, which is huge. I know Blaine's going to get into some reservations, about this deal from the Eagles' perspective and some of the injuries and such. But I just wanted to take a moment just to celebrate a great man, a guy of character for signing a big deal.
Yeah, it's just good to see good things happen to good people. We'll see how it works out. But Blaine, what do you think?
Well, one, I'll never knock Jalen when it comes to attitude. The kid never makes it. He's the overall package from a mental standpoint, what you want from a guy who leads your team at quarterback. But I don't think this is on Jalen. I think most quarterbacks in the NFL are overpaid. I really do. I think you can start thinking Deshaun Watson for that. What scares me about Jalen is, one, Jalen's a great talent, that's for sure. But let's look what's around Jalen Hurts right now. I mean, maybe the best center ever to do in Jason Kelce. Lane Johnson, one of the best tackles. You have the best offensive line in the NFL, best run game in the NFL. 2 Pro Bowlers, in my opinion, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, you got Goddard at tight end, a great defense. And we always know when it comes to this, the first year of flash when it comes to basically kind of a new system we see in the NFL. What's the NFL going to do to you now? They're going to keen in on Jalen Hurts, especially when it comes to the run game. They're going to make the ticky-tack decisions they have to make to stop this offense. I worry about Jalen when the pieces around him start falling. Can Jalen elevate your team to go win you a Super Bowl, right? I mean, if we compare rosters right now to in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs to the Eagles have a better roster, for sure, hands down, on both sides of the ball. Patrick Mahomes was the difference. I understand if you get your guy if you're the Eagles. One, Eagles, great organization. I mean, especially when it comes to getting quarterbacks, just a stable place you can go play football, and that's good for Jalen, especially going to his first team. But when it comes down to it, when you're not the same team in 2 years, right? When your best are slowly just retiring or getting traded out, whatever it is, can Jalen be that guy? If the Eagles think he can be that guy, that's fine. He did improve a lot from his first year when it comes to sitting back in the pocket and throwing the football. But go watch him sit in the pocket. What do you not see, right? You don't see D linemen around him. So once, it's almost like the 49ers with me with Brock Purdy. Brock was playing great, but they're so talented everywhere. Best defense, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, George Kittle. So let's go back to Georgia in college. Stetson played great. You can put a lot of guys. If you'd have put Lamar Jackson on the Eagles, right, do you think they'd go as far as Jalen Hurts?
Say that again?
If you put Lamar Jackson on the Eagles as quarterback, do you think they'd go just as far?
Yeah.
Like what?
Had he stayed healthy.
Had he stayed healthy, for sure. So, I get it. It's your guy. I understand it. But I do think this is not on Jalen. One, get your bag, kid, for sure. Go get paid. But quarterbacks in general in the NFL get overpaid.
Yeah, and we can make here's my kind of my counter and I get you make logical points. I don't think you're totally out of bounds. One, Jalen can't control who's around him, but just like we see in the NBA with coaches and some players, you don't have to be the best player. You have to be the right player at the right moment. And I think Jalen can control the egos around him. Because when you look at some quarterback, they can't handle it. We saw with Terrell Owens, we can go back and forth through the history of time. Randy Moss, quarterbacks and wide receivers are quarterbacks not being able to handle the egos. I think Jalen can handle the egos because Jalen doesn't have a huge ego.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
So with a contract like this, you don't think you have to be the best player? They get signed to a massive contract like this for the Eagles. Are we going to say? Are we going to compare Jason Kelce to Jalen Hurts? I mean, one plays center, the other plays quarterback. Position-wise.
You mean on your team? Do you have to be the best player on your team?
Well, to get paid a contract like this.
Well, what's the most important position on the team?
I mean, quarterback.
Okay, so to me that answers that question. But to control the egos around you is one thing. Two, defenses always catch up to offenses. With the new system, new era of offense, new style, new pace, the defense will always catch up. That's where I think you bank on what has Jalen Hurts done his whole career, really. Improve. Every time he has to evolve, he's answered the bell. And you ask, hey, can Jalen Hurts do things in the Super Bowl when everybody else isn't doing anything? Well, the leading receiver in the Super Bowl had 100 yards. That was Devontae Smith. You had one wide receiver catch a touchdown. Jalen Hurts went 27 of 38. For 340 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions in the biggest game of his life. He was the leading rusher, 15 carries, 70 yards, 3 touchdowns. He accounted for 4 touchdowns, was unbelievably efficient. They scored 35 points. In reality, you did have the fumble that the Chiefs got, which was kind of the one mistake. Yeah. But Jalen Hurts wasn't the reason the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. They got their ass kicked on defense because the back end or the front end really didn't show up, in my opinion. And I do want to give credit to the Chiefs and the game plan. I thought that was great. But Jalen Hurts wasn't the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was one of the reasons they had a chance to win the Super Bowl.
He was fantastic.
He was
fantastic.
He'd have won MVP if they'd have won.
He was fantastic there and all year long. One of the things Blaine and I were talking about, though, is this was his first big breakout year, right? He played well, but this is his first big breakout year. And we've seen this time and time again where defenses are able to game plan for you, figure you out that year after you first break out. We see it a lot with first-year OCs a lot, right? So the question then becomes, because to me, the Chiefs look more and more brilliant with every contract and with every year that goes by because they had those 2 years of sample size for Patrick Mahomes, where he basically led the league 2 years in a row, and that second year won a Super Bowl, right? They capped that off with a 10-year, $450 million contract that has rolling guarantees. I don't know all the details, but essentially every 3 years, if you're still on the roster, you get the next 3 years guarantee, something like that. It's looking more and more like a brilliant deal. Do you think that NFL teams and defenses will be able to game plan better for Jalen Hurts now that he's had a breakout year, or will he just continue to roll?
Well, yeah, you have more tendencies. I think it's just as much about Nick Sirianni and obviously replacing the offensive coordinator. You know, it's their game planning for him too and how he operates. So I think one of the reasons this is going to work is because Sirianni and Jalen Hurts work so well. But let's not forget, scheme's great and defenses do catch up. They make it harder for you to score. But when you return Jason Kelce and you return Lane Johnson and you returned Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and all these guys.
And the defense.
And the defense. Like
Fletcher Cox
coming back. So
is Fletcher coming back?
Yeah, Fletcher's coming back.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, I believe Fletcher's coming back. So I think it's a safe bet. Could they have got him for cheaper? I don't know. I'm not in that room. But I think a lot of variables made that decision.
One thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention this too. Nicole Lynn, Jalen Hurts' agent. Did you hear about this story?
How they met?
Yeah, they met, where she DM'd him after his final college game and said, "Have you picked an agent? If not, I would love to link up."
Organic, baby.
I mean, what a way to lock down an agent.
That commission?
She just signed him to the biggest per year average. Like that, I love that story.
Hey, YouTube, do us a favor. We really appreciate you checking out the content. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you can check out everything we drop right when we drop it. We appreciate it. Remember, without you, there is no us.